Trips up. Booty hey. Stupid with dog. Yes. Mr. Rock, a snug. Yanu Dorba. Kubaroo. Phoebe Looney, Kabiloo. Bliss Burp. Noopy Narky. Noop. Ow! Woo! This'll frip. Crew. Phoebe Shoon Doctor. Oh, Doctor. Ooh. Heluna, A Sinka. Toby.
Hey,
Siga Warbanu, Zipi La Plai, Slucky P Chingo, Abeyu, Jabibna, Ibnu, Roba So Mimsy, Iba Saba Mim, Obe Sam, Ozam, Tazaki Sizi, Shamuvra Rula, Phoebe Looney, Kabiloo. Blizz Burb, Blizz Flockus Lane, Oobla, Zipa Nork. Yee! Ow!
Hi everybody, welcome back to MySims Kingdom, and here we are in Cowboy Junction, which is one of the more enjoyable of these early levels here. You shouldn't be able to, but apologies if you can hear the noise that the people that live above me are making. I know that I have talked about this before in some venue online, but I don't know if I've said it in a video, but yeah, the people who live above me in my apartment building, I truly don't know what they're actually doing up there. It sounds like they're always, like, moving heavy furniture around and or just, like, stomping and, like, dropping shit, like, literally constantly, like, all hours of the day. I've heard them do this in the early morning. I've heard them do this at like 3 a.m. I've heard them do this around now, 8 p.m. when I am currently recording this. Yeah, I can hear it very much, so I'm just saying if you can hear it, then, sorry. Anyway, this, level is cool. The main through line here is this thing of there's a guy who's been stealing shit and breaking everything, and we gotta find out who it is because there's apparently some question as to who it might be in this town that has like 6 people and they all know each other. And it leads to like the most pointless manhunt of all time, and the game even acknowledges this, but we'll get more into that later on. Right now we're just doing the normal stuff of this game of fixing up people's stuff that sucks. It's pretty funny, the opening storybook bit said that, after the Wandaliers went away, never says why, it's a little sus, but after the Wandaliers went away, the land fell into disrepair, and, all of the once thriving little island communities in Sim Earth, or wherever we are, kind of lost their luster. And, when you hear that, you think, like, oh, so, things aren't really, popping like they used to, and it's like, no, there's literally like 4 people on every island and nothing works. Like, they have no buildings. Okay, I lied. This place has a couple of buildings. I think there's one actual house on this whole island. So, yeah, I just think that's funny that's the place with, This is pretty much how every level is going to be in this game. You go to a place and they're like, haha, welcome, we are the best this place in the whole world. Let me show you this thing. And they go over there and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot it doesn't exist and I want to die because my whole life is crumbling before me. So here's a secret scroll. We're going to do that. I'm going to try to do most of the scrolls because it's pretty easy. It's basically just grinding for essences, which I already do as a normal part of business in this game. And I cut a lot out on this one, especially later on for one of the scrolls that we're gonna have to get later on in this level. We need catfish, which is only available, at least at this juncture, in Renee's nature preserve, and I did not have enough of them, and I had to off-screen travel back to the nature preserve and fish for some catfish and get them and bring them back to Cowboy Junction. So that is a lesson, that's why I started my trend of always getting more essences than you need. I usually try to get, at least, twice what I need to get, depending on what it is, because, obviously, if it's a pretty rare essence, it can be a little bit harder. Anyway, I really like Gabby. I think he's my favorite of the Cowboy Junction characters. I've talked already about how the humor in this game is, mostly, kind of whatever, but at times it is, gently funny. It's nothing, laugh-out-loud funny to me or anything like that, but, yeah, gently funny and, charming and cute are the best ways that I can put it, even though all of those sound equally, patronizing. But, I mean, it is a game made primarily for children, so. Anyway, here we are using our next type of machinery connecting after gears and axles. Now we're doing water pipes, and I really like messing with this stuff. These were always my favorite bits of this game growing up, where you had to string together the axles, where you had to make these water pipe dealies. Later on, we're going to be dealing with electrical wires. And it's all basically, operating on the same principles and everything. And I'm sure, by the way, that, my method that I'm doing here is not at all the most efficient way to water all of these plants. I was kind of just flying by the seat of my pants with this one. But yeah, for whatever reason, this was always the type of thing in this game that I would look forward to having to do. I didn't really... And I mean, getting the essences and whatnot was also, it's just kind of an easy thing to do. It's a chill thing to do. You can kind of sit back and, you don't have to point at the screen all the time, which was true for fishing in the original MySims on the Wii. You had to, point you moved the bobber around with the Wiimote. In this game, you do it with the control stick, which I like a lot better because I don't like my arm to hurt. That is one thing with the Wii that, as a child, I never really noticed or, had an issue with. is the fact that in games that make use of the pointer and the Wiimote, which is like, I guess what you want from Wii games, you gotta hold your arm up the whole time. And especially if your sensor bar is not like is in like a semi-elevated position, which I would guess it normally is, like relative to your couch or whatever, it can get uncomfortable after not very long, and it makes my shoulder hurt. But I honestly think it just is because I'm older now, because I don't know. Like I said, I never really felt that when I was a kid. But I don't know. I'm not that old is the thing. I don't think I should be at the level where I'm getting sore from things like that. But I mean, it does happen. I mean, sometimes when I like wake up to go to work and like I haven't given myself a whole lot of time, and I've woken up not very long before I have to start walking to work, and I start walking, like my shins or my calves will be sore for the rest of the day, because it's just like, you know, being horizontal for 7 hours and then just suddenly like just popping up and motoring on pavement. Yeah. I don't know why I was saying that. Oh yeah, the Wii. So, you know, that's the thing. Now, also when I drive, one of the main reasons that I don't really enjoy driving is because one or both of my shoulders is going to be sore if I drive for more than like 25 minutes. Because I usually just have my right hand on the top or side of the steering wheel. That's the most comfortable way that I can like efficiently drive and steer. Yeah, after a while holding it up that long makes me little arm hurt. So I don't really love it. I guess I could maybe get used to like putting my hands on the bottom of the steering wheel. I know a lot of older people do that. Like all the like older men in my family all hold the steering wheel with both hands on the bottom of the steering wheel, and I never got it, and I think I know why. It's because doing otherwise makes your fucking arm hurt. This isn't super interesting commentary, but I'm just herding cows, and it takes me a little bit longer than I would have liked to herd these cows. They're not nearly as cooperative as the pigs or the cat, or what was the other thing? The bear that I had to move. And like the other ones basically just move in a straight line away from wherever you're facing, so they're pretty easy to steer around. These guys, you have to do the hya, and they do it, but they don't go straight. They kind of curve off, and they're a little bit fiddly. It's a little bit hard to know exactly where they're gonna go, and if you're an idiot like me, then you'll have this problem of them just kind of going all over creation and forgetting about you. There we go, Jesus Christ. Roxy is in the original game. She's just kind of a, like, normal person that you move in. I think so. In the first MySims games, there are, like, different kinds of Sims that move in. I mean, they're mostly, they're all divided by their interests, by what types of essences they're into. And it's, like, spooky, which is like goth people, and there's like nerdy or like techie, there's fun party people, there's studious, you know, book people, cute people who like cute things, etc. And some of them are just normal people. I think they're called townies, and you just build them a house, and then they're like, okay, thanks, and then you never have to deal with them again. And other ones are like, you got to do favors for them. Those are the ones that you're like building their furniture and shit. They usually run some kind of business. Like, there's DJ Candy that runs like a nightclub house. There's Elmira is a librarian. You build her a library. There's a dude who you make a museum for. And then Geno is also in the original game. He's one of the first people you help out, and he's one of my favorite characters in the original game. He talks completely differently in that one. I think they, like, in the written dialogue for him, they give him, like, a stereotypical Italian accent. But here, it's kind of nondescript. I still think he's funny in here, and he's just a charming little character. I mean, I love chefs. Italian cartoony characters, cartoony Italians are fun. He's just a cute-looking guy, and in the original game, his the stuff that you do for him is actually pretty sick. You make a bunch of ovens and just pizza stuff, and you can hang in there, and you can eat pizza. And in the early stage of the game, his place is like, his restaurant is like the hot spot. You know, it's like poppin', and everyone wants to go there. People come in and they eat the pizza, and it's very good fun. So I've always liked Chef Geno. Also, I was talking over it, but earlier you may have noticed that we got a little visit from Guillermo, and that is because we got enough king points to go up one level. I believe you go up to level 5. You can see it in the corner there. We're at level 2 now. We've done enough good deeds. We've gotten enough good boy points to get some stuff. So he sent us some stuff, like clothes. I think later he might send you like a scroll or something. And uncovered Rocket Reef on the map. And this is a kind of silly cutscene and has very silly music.
Yep. Let's go.
Snurbadu. He ducks not. Stop. Ooh, a cruci nerd. Ooh, Kudaka Dua? Karia Sabutu.
I was saying earlier, Gabby likes the sweet taste of justice. It's stuff like that, you know. I was saying earlier that this game does have occasional charm and things that make me laugh, and Gabby is one of those characters that, it's mostly the characters that are on more of the blunt side, and, you know, I don't know, I'm not smart enough, I don't know enough words, I don't know enough adjectives to describe what kind of dialogue they have. Well, I mean, like this, where you say, "Dern Blarnet." And I like that. He just comes up to her and says a bunch of cowboy swears, and she immediately knows what he's talking about. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's the dumbest manhunt ever. We literally saw who did it as they were doing it, and I mean, he's the only other person on the island, and he looks like a bandit, and he also decided to leave 10 of his bandanas everywhere for some reason. So now we're getting that. And of course, we're going to pick up some essences along the way. This is pretty much what I am doing anytime that I am moving anywhere in the game. I make sure to collect any essences that are easily gotten, you know, and ones that you can pull up from the grass, ones you can shake off trees, stuff like that. And every time I start a new level, I pretty much, I'll get the first missions going, but as soon as I can go around most of the level, I'll usually, do some mining, go to the fishing places, I guess you would call it a dock, I don't know. And yes, I know that I missed a bandana up there. There's one like 2 feet away from the one I just got. I have to circle back. I'll get it in a minute, don't worry. What was I talking about? Yeah, I do the treasure finder and shit. Like, I try to just, at the beginning, kind of, like, get my bearings in terms of what kinds of materials, what kinds of essences are around. Yeah. This is my strategy. This is a game for very smart and strategic gamers like myself, Someone who's very experienced and has a big brain. That's who this game is for, which is why it's perfect for me, because my brain is really big. So while I'm just milling about here, I did not mean to say that as we cross the mill. Unintentional pun. LOL. Was that the mill? Whatever. I was saying earlier in this run that I don't really know exactly what genre you would call this game, and that it has, like, semi-RPG elements. I guess life sim, like life simulator, that's what it's listed as on most things, and it is probably the most accurate, even though it is like a very simplistic life simulation that doesn't exactly quote-unquote simulate life in the way that the name might make you think, and just what your preconception, or at least my preconception, would have you believe based on, like, what the Sims games are like. Because the Sims games are very much a life sim, because the, like, gameplay is, either, to your whim or strategically. I mean, there is strategy to the Sims, depending on what you're trying to do. It is, making simulating a life, or lives, bit by bit. In the same way that, like, Civ 5 is a simulation game of sorts. Although it's more of, like, a strategy game, obviously. But, yeah, this one is much more simplified and, like, gamified. The gameplay is just, like, collecting stuff and then using a wand to build things. Stuff like the socializing is kind of where you round out the life sim thing, but it's kind of stretching it a little more. The first MySims game, I think, is more, makes more sense a little bit as a life sim, because you can, like, to more of a degree than you can here, you can, like, cultivate, relationships with Sims. Like, I think, like, if you're mean to a Sim a lot of times, then, like, they'll not like you. Whereas in this one, I mean, you can do the stuff where you, like, do a happy thing, and it makes the happy essence come out of their face. Or you can make them angry or sad. But it doesn't, like, matter. And, like, after you do happy things, or, like, nice things for people, or after you do, missions for them, you see the little Sims plus sign come above them, like the, your relationship with them is improving, but, like, it doesn't actually do anything. It's just kind of like you're progressing through the game normally when you do the missions and stuff. Anyway, here we're going to reform Rusty, and it's going to take, I think, like 3 things. You just compliment his horseshoe. Your horseshoe is really cool. Yeah, I fucking know. High five. Okay, I'm not a robber anymore. If only it were that easy. But yeah, I would say that these games, the MySims games, are closer to something like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley than Sims in terms of its like simulation of life. And Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, I think, also kind of have RPG elements. Stardew Valley more than Animal Crossing, but not quite. But again, like, it doesn't really matter. Genre doesn't have to be hard and fast. They can definitely bleed into each other more, and I think there's been more of that in recent years. In culture in general, and specifically in music, genres become a lot more amorphous and like hard to distinctly categorize, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. I don't know if that's becoming more true over time for games as well or not. I mean, there are definitely games that like mix genres, or like aren't necessarily all one thing, or maybe like mostly count as a certain genre, but don't necessarily live up to the kind of typical expectation of what you would have in them, kind of like this game with being a life sim. I don't know, but you get what I mean. Anyway, here we're making him a campsite. This is basically just like throw a bunch of shit into this grid, and you know, if it has 10 trees, 5 TVs, and 4 screaming balloons, then you're fucking golden. You just pile like 17 of those sandbags on top of each other and be like, this is perfect. So, Cowboy Junction, once we're done with this here, is going to be wrapping up. I wanted to bring up 2 things. Might only get to one of them. One is that the Olympics have been going on. I really have not been watching it, because I don't have cable. And I know that it's streaming on some things, but it just has not really been on my radar. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of seems like the Team USA is, like, taking a lot of L's the last couple days. We got pretty rocked in skateboarding. Simone Biles dropped out of the gymnastics final because she got injured, and so the Russians took it, the women's gymnastics final. And then I was reading about something else today where there was like an upset for the US, and or like the Simone Biles thing was like the 3rd or 4th like thing that the US was expected to do really well in, and either because of a fuck up or like exigent circumstances they ended up not. And yeah, so but I did watch some of the skateboarding, I watched some of the men's beach volleyball, and I'd like to check out some of the martial arts stuff and maybe the basketball before it ends. Even though, like, the weird thing about the Olympics is that they always come with the caveat of, like, decimating wherever they're taking place. Gabby is done fiddling. So yeah, I like that little ending, with the fiddle dance, and that little bit there is kind of funny. Anyway, now we have an Old West scroll, which will allow us to make Old Western style buildings, which apparently includes Italian restaurant decor. Classic Old West thing. But yeah, I do like the Olympics in theory, because it's you know, fun competition, and just the idea of it, of all the countries putting up their best athletes to compete, is like a fun idea. There should be like, I want there to be like an equivalent esports Olympics. I know that apparently this year the Olympics is dabbling a little bit in esports, but it's kind of a separate thing. I mean, like, and I know that esports have their own tournaments and events and things like that, but I think it would be cool if there was and esports Olympics on the same level and scale as the regular, like in a stadium as the regular Olympics. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, so that was Cowboy Junction. Next time we're starting Rocket Reef. See you then for that.